It was Christmas Eve, roughly 10 years ago, and I was spending it alone in my childhood home. My parents had gone to visit my ailing grandmother a few states away, and due to a last-minute flight cancellation, I'd been stranded. The house was an old Victorian, nestled deep in the woods of rural Vermont. Snow had been falling steadily since morning, blanketing everything in a pristine, unbroken white. It was beautiful, yes, but also incredibly isolating. The silence of the house, broken only by the crackling fire and the occasional groan of the old timbers, had begun to feel oppressive as the hours crept towards midnight. I was wrapped in a blanket, sipping hot cocoa, trying to conjure some semblance of festive cheer by watching a classic Christmas movie. Suddenly, a sound cut through the quiet, distant at first, barely a whisper on the wind. It was singing Christmas carols. My brow furrowed. It was past 11, and we lived far off the main road. No one ever came caroling out here, especially not in a blizzard like this. The singing grew louder, clearer. It wasn't a group, but a single voice, a man's voice, deep and resonant, yet oddly flat, emotionless. It was singing Silent Night, but there was nothing silent or holy about the way he sang it. It felt wrong, like a mockery. My heart began to thump a nervous rhythm against my ribs. I turned off the TV, plunging the living room into near darkness, save for the firelight dancing on the walls. The voice continued, seemingly approaching from the direction of our long, winding driveway. Each note felt drawn out, stretched thin, as if the singer was struggling, or perhaps enjoying the drawn-out torment. My breath hitched in my throat when I realized the lyrics were slightly altered, small personal details woven into the traditional words that could only apply to me. He sang about the lonely girl by the fire, about the quiet house, full of fear. I froze, my blood turning to ice. How could he know I was alone? How could he know these details? Panic began to set in. I stumbled backwards away from the large bay window that overlooked the front yard. I knew I should call the police, but my hands were shaking too much to even consider reaching for my phone. Then the singing stopped, abruptly. The sudden silence was 1,000 times worse than the eerie carol. It pressed down on me, heavy and suffocating. I strained my ears, hearing only the wind outside and the frantic pounding of my own heart. A soft tap, tap, tap started at the front door. Gentle at first, almost polite. Then it grew insistent, firmer, like someone testing the strength of the wood. I pressed myself against the wall, eyes wide, breath shallow. I knew, with a horrifying certainty, that I couldn't open that door. I couldn't even look. Whoever or whatever was out there, it wasn't human, not truly. The tapping ceased, replaced by a low, guttural humming that seemed to vibrate through the very foundations of the old house. It was a wordless, mournful sound, filled with a malevolent hunger. I clamped my hands over my mouth, terrified of making even the slightest noise. I remained there, huddled in the dark, listening to the hum, which eventually faded, receding into the swirling snow from which it came. The sun finally broke through the clouds hours later, casting a pale, weak light on the snow-covered world. I didn't move until I saw it. Shivering, I crept to the front door, peered through the peehole. Nothing. Cautiously, I opened the door. The snow on the porch was undisturbed, a fresh, unbroken blanket. There were no footprints, no evidence that anyone had been there at all. Yet the memory of that voice, those personalized lyrics, and that chilling hum remain etched into my soul. I've never celebrated Christmas Eve alone since, and the sound of carols at night still sends a cold spike of fear through my chest. Some festive melodies are best left unsung. My family, my wife, Lisa, and our 2 young children, Emily and Josh, had always dreamed of a truly white Christmas. So 2 years ago, we rented a picturesque cabin deep in the Canadian Rockies. It was stunning, surrounded by towering pines, accessible only by a single, winding dirt road,
and completely isolated. The nearest town was a good hour's drive away. We arrived a few days before Christmas Eve, eager for a week of snowshoeing, hot chocolate, and uninterrupted family time. The first couple of days were idyllic. Emily and Josh built snowmen, we had snowball fights, and the evenings were spent by a roaring fireplace, reading stories. The cabin felt like a perfect, cozy bubble against the harsh winter world. But slowly, imperceptibly at first, that bubble began to feel porous. The first sign was on the second morning. Fresh snow had fallen overnight, covering our existing tracks. But when Lisa went out to get firewood, she noticed a set of footprints leading from the edge of the tree line directly to the back porch, then turning around and disappearing back into the woods. They weren't ours, and they were much larger than any animal track we'd ever seen. We shrugged it off, attributing it to a curious hiker or a lost hunter. The isolation was part of the charm after all. Later that day, Josh's bright red sled, which we'd left propped against the cabin wall, was found lying face down in a snowdrift a good 20 feet away. No wind could have done that. A shiver ran down my spine, but I tried to rationalize it. Kids are clumsy. Maybe one of us knocked it without thinking. Lisa, though, looked worried. That night, I woke to a faint scratching sound coming from downstairs. It was rhythmic, persistent, like nails dragging across wood. I nudged Lisa awake, but she just mumbled and went back to sleep. I lay there, listening for what felt like an eternity. The scratching stopped, replaced by a soft thud, then silence. I told myself it was just the house settling, or a branch against the window, but I knew it wasn't. Christmas Eve arrived, and the unsettling incidents continued. A small ceramic reindeer ornament, a cherished family heirloom, was found shattered on the living room floor. No one remembered touching it. Emily's favorite stuffed bear, which had been on her bed, was discovered on the kitchen counter, its glass eyes staring blankly at the ceiling. The cabin, which had felt so secure, now felt observed. That evening, after the children were asleep, Lisa and I were talking by the fire, trying to shake off the growing unease. Suddenly, we heard a distinct creak from upstairs, followed by the faint sound of footsteps. My blood ran cold. The children were asleep. We were alone. "Mark," Lisa whispered, her voice trembling. I grabbed the heavy iron poker beside the fireplace. "Stay here," I commanded, though my own legs felt like jelly. I crept up the stairs, heart pounding against my ribs. Each step creaked in protest, amplifying the silence. The kids' bedroom door was slightly ajar. I pushed it open slowly. Both Emily and Josh were asleep in their beds. But on Josh's bedside table, next to his sleeping form, was a crudely carved wooden figurine. It was a disturbing rendition of a human figure, disproportionate and grotesque, its eyes carved with deep, empty sockets that seemed to bore into me. It definitely wasn't there before, and it definitely wasn't ours. I snatched it up, my fingers recoiling from the cold, rough wood. It felt ancient, malevolent. As I turned to leave, I noticed the window in their room was unlatched, slightly ajar, letting in a thin ribbon of frosty air. Someone had been in their room while they slept. I raced downstairs, the figurine clutched in my hand, and showed it to Lisa, her face drained of all color. We called the police, but they were hours away and couldn't guarantee arrival before morning due to the weather. We spent the rest of the night huddled together, the fireplace poker between us, listening to every creak, every gust of wind. The figurine sat on the coffee table, its empty eyes seeming to follow us. We left the cabin at first light, Christmas presents unopened, the sense of violation overwhelming. The police eventually arrived and found no signs of forced entry, no clear footprints that hadn't been erased by fresh snow. They suggested it was likely an animal, or perhaps a prank, but we knew better. The memory of that wooden doll and the knowledge that someone had been in our children's room watching them sleep during what was supposed to be our perfect Christmas still chills me to the bone. The beauty of those isolated woods now holds only terror for us.